My name is John McClaran, and the earliest memories I have are going to the Y. I grew up in Kailua, Hawaii on Oahu, and went to the Windward YMCA, and there I took swimming lessons, attended day camp there. At the end of 5th grade, my father was transferred to California, Long Beach, California, and my mother immediately joined the San Pedro YMCA. And I was really, it was a hard thing for a 5th grader to move and leave friends. And when I got there, it was almost like I made instant friends. It was the familiar surroundings, the pool, the gym. And then 2 years later, my father retired from the Navy, and we moved back to Hawaii, and then back to the Windward Y. It was a wonderful place for all of us. Yeah, I never really forgot about my Y experience. I came back to Hawaii from college and got a job at a bank in Honolulu. Working in the bank wasn't really that much fun, and so I'd always been interested in flying. And I started taking flying lessons on the weekends, and eventually got my private pilot's license. And the guy who taught me to fly was my best friend's father, who had been a Marine Corps fighter pilot. He said, if you really want to fly and earn your hours, fly in Navy. And so 3 months later, I was in Pensacola, Florida, attending basically officer boot camp for naval aviators. 18 months later, I received my wings, and I was headed off to Lemoore, California, to fly in a squadron aboard the USS Enterprise as a new naval aviator. And so I served in various capacities as a pilot for about 8 years. On one day, I was flying my airplane with another guy. I was teaching him how to do air combat maneuvering, dogfighting. And in the process of doing that, I departed the airplane. The airplane departed controlled flight. Before that happened, I ran out of altitude. So right before hitting the ground, I ejected from my airplane. And the violence of the departure and the speed at which I was going shattered my spine when I left the airplane. And so I was badly injured. I ended up in the hospital for an extended period of time, with major surgery, and instantly I was just in a bad place because I had gone from, high-flying Navy pilot to just the junior guy in a 5-room hospital bed in a VA rehab facility. And I was like, this is not where I want to be, and this is not who I want to be. So, it seemed as though the light in my tunnel had completely gone out. But over time, I realized I had a wife who was pregnant with my second daughter and a 1-year-old. And I remember my daughter sitting on my bed, and it was my wife at the side. And I instantly realized that the light in my tunnel hadn't gone out. Basically, just my eyes were closed. And the light in my tunnel was sitting right next to me. And so it turned out I was really lucky, to be there. And over time, I developed an attitude, basically 2 questions. Why me, or why not me? And why me was like, woe is me. And it's a dead end, despair, darkness. Why not me? It's an open door to, I won't say endless possibilities, but all things are possible. It's tough, but in order to maintain your independence and avoid complications from your injuries, you got to stay as fit as possible. And so, from that day on, I sort of adopted fitness as my sort of, thing to do. As not only was it good for physical well-being, but also mental well-being. After a time, we moved down again to Kaiser, and one day my neighbor and I were talking about fitness facilities and stuff, kind of griping, as old guys do. And he's like, man, have you ever checked out the Y? I immediately, the next day, drove over here. Then I got a tour, and I went to the 2nd floor where the weights are, and there were completely accessible weight equipment and 3 bikes, hand bikes, that were completely adjustable to whatever size and shape you were. And it was just like, I'd never seen something so good. And in fact, the entire grounds, the person who made it must have been in a wheelchair, because it's about as good as it gets. It's sort of universally designed to accommodate everybody in our community. And I think that's what sets the Y apart, especially with my history with the Y. It just feels good. And I just love being a member.